Capcom Unity, hello, Greg Man reporting in. I'm joined by a very special guest, Andrew Szymanski, producer of Lost Planet 3. Thanks for being here today.
Hello, great to be here.
We've seen a lot of new assets and new information about multiplayer, but just to get everyone up to speed on the multiplayer features in the game, could you just give a little overview of what people can expect out of the multiplayer experience?
Multiplayer in Lost Planet 3 is based off of 4 gameplay types, 2 of which we're talking about today. And then there'll be 6 maps in the game that you'll be able to play, and each map supports each mode. So you do simple math, and you'll come up with 24 different types of games that you can have. And the 2 modes that we're going to be talking about today are what we call the scenario mode and the Acrid survival mode.
I've actually had the privilege of seeing a little bit of the scenario mode in action. I think it's really cool. It's really dynamic. I was wondering if you could just run us through one possible scenario that you might encounter as a player.
Sure. Well, the basis of Lost Planet 3 multiplayer is Nevik versus Snow Pirates. And in the scenario game mode, it's very much an objective-based mode, where every map has you performing a different type of objective. And basically, in broad terms, it's offense versus defense. To give you one example that we've shown at our press event here is the scenario mode on a map called Stronghold. And basically what this is there's a vehicle called the Battle Cat, and it's basically this giant snowplow with a huge bladed attachment on the front. And Nevik is using that to break into the Snow Pirate base. So as the Nevik team, you're playing as the attackers, and your goal is to basically defend this Battle Cat vehicle as it's gradually moving into the base. And as it reaches certain walls and doors, it'll actually physically break through those. And it has a truck bed on the back, so Nevik soldiers can get up on the truck bed and use it for cover and shoot out, and of course you can get out and move around. So your goal is just to protect that and get it inside that base, and if you reach the core of the base, then the Nevik side wins. The Snow Pirates are the defenders, so their goal is to stop this Battle Cat. And the Battle Cat has a health bar, and so if the Snow Pirates shoot it for a certain amount of time, that health bar goes down to 0, it'll become immobile, and you'll see smoke, and flame effects coming out of it. And then the Nevik team will have to repair that using our repair mechanic, which is basically using the thumbsticks to kind of match things up to repair it properly. So we just try to have that feeling of, yes, it's a multiplayer game, it's a competitive team-based game, but there is a certain amount of almost like a narrative scenario, hence the name of the mode.
Could you just talk a little bit about what was sort of the logical progression? How was this born out of the previous games in the series?
Well, of course, multiplayer is very important to us, and we know for the fans also that for Lost Planet, multiplayer is just a huge part of the experience. And so, from the get-go, when we sat down to develop the concept of Lost Planet 3, we knew that multiplayer would be part of the package. As I've said often in interviews talking about the campaign portion and the single-player portion of the game, we made a conscious decision early on to split those off. So instead of including sort of co-op gameplay in the campaign, we said the campaign is going to be about Jim, the main character is going to be about his story, and we're going to break that off as a separate mode. So the multiplayer is kind of, as we call it, a suite of modes. And the things that we've really tried to keep with Lost Planet 3 is the different human factions, and Nevik and the Snow Pirates, as I've mentioned, the vehicles, in particular the battle suits, and the Acrid. So these are all kind of the pieces of the puzzle, if you will. They're the magic sauce that makes Lost Planet 3 unique. And you're going to see that in the multiplayer suite because we do have the return of the battle suits. We do have maps that have you do battle suit on battle suit. Another thing is the Acrid. And a lot of people have asked, hey, one of the things we really liked about LP2 was the fact that you could fight Acrid together. And we really wanted to keep that in the Lost Planet 3 experience. So in several of the scenario mode maps, you will have Acrid creatures that you have to fight. So while you're in the middle of this team gameplay, you'll basically have Acrid that will jump into the mix that you'll have to take out. And then we have an entire mode that's dedicated specifically to taking on Acrid in kind of a co-op context, and that's the Acrid survival mode. And this particular mode is 3-on-3, so your team of 3 is working together to kill the Acrids on your side. The other team on the same map, in an isolated area that you can see but you can't reach, they're taking on those acrid. And then as a little kind of a mix-up, after you're done with these first 2 waves where it's just you and 2 other guys fighting the acrid, at the end the barriers come up, and now you have to take on the other player.
I have to ask, I know a lot of people have a special fondness for the grappling hook that's always been in the series. Can you just talk a little bit about the role that will play in multiplayer?
Sure. First off, just to reassure people who may have looked at the single-player coverage and say, man, I understand that in the single-player you don't start with a grappling hook and it's kind of a prototype and it's the past and, so you don't use it that often. For multiplayer, the grappling hook plays a much bigger role. You always have it, and it basically can be used against almost all sort of flat surfaces. Platforms, walkways, walls, and things like that you can use to bring yourself up. If you look at the footage, which is probably playing right now as I'm talking, you'll see that the grappling hook is used a lot. I mean, it's used much, much more in multiplayer. One of the things that we've really put a lot of effort into with LP3 that's brand new for the series is the idea of this, what we call the character progression sphere. And this is basically, if you go into the multiplayer mode, and as you're winning matches and you're earning credits, Zenny as we call them, you can basically go into this sphere, which is literally in the menu is this sphere that has spaces on it that unlock new weapons, they unlock new character skins, and new abilities that you can use. See, the great thing about this system is, so you have to earn credits to unlock the abilities. And then for most of the abilities, the active abilities, you have to have thermal energy in order to use them. So basically, as you're attacking human players, when you kill a human player, he'll leave a pile of thermal energy that you can pick up. So as you're getting that thermal energy, you can use that for your abilities. We really try to create those different layers of the experience in order to give people the familiar elements, the grappling hook, the DS, the acrid, but also sort of these new abilities of, hey, I want to put some time in, I want to play a bunch of matches so I can unlock, new character skins, new weapons. I want to play as Jim, so I want to get to this part of the sphere where Jim is and things like that.
So just one more question for you. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the acrid we can see in the multiplayer mode? Will there be some returning acrid from past games in the series? Are there some that you think are particularly cool?
Yeah, I mean, all of the acrid that you find in multiplayer are ones that appear in various forms in the single player with some few variations. Zapaya, of course, is the classic returning acrid. Is that spider kind of spindly acrid, and it is in the single player, of course, one of the main enemies in the single player. It also shows up in some of our multiplayer maps. Another great example of one that I particularly like is we have a scaled down version of the spitter acrid, and we can fit multiple of those on screen. So imagine it's you and 2 of your buddies against 2 or 3 giant. I mean, they're still big. They're still probably 2 or 3 times the size of the actual player, coming at you from all sides and attacking you to figure out how to deal with these things, and they are tough.
Lost Planet 3 comes out August 27th for PS3, Xbox 360, and PC.